So now I'm continuing the same paper. I'm continuing with question number 21. In question number 21, you can see there are multiple ribosomes, five ribosomes along a single strand of mRNA. So such a structure is known as a polysome. And the function of it is that many thousands of proteins are formed very quickly. Now, in this question, you need to know that the Golgi complex is always involved in the packing and uh, packing of all the kinds of things. So the lysosomes, which are what are the function of lysosomes? Lysosomes have a hydrolytic function, phagocytic function. They are basically used to remove all the unwanted body parts. So the Golgi complex have their function to make them, whereas the hydrolytic enzymes, which are produced from the lysosomes, are made from the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Now, in the next question, we know that mitochondria and chloroplast both have their origin from bacterial structures. So, the only incorrect option in each of the following is option number A. They don't have an ACS ribosome, they have the smaller structural unit of a 87Ts ribosome. In question number 24, we should know that a nucleolus does not have a membrane. So the incorrect option is C. In question number 25, a prokaryotic cell distinguishing feature is the absence of a nucleus. So the correct option will be B. In question number 26, we know that in the structure of a plant cell, the majority of the surface area is covered by the central vacuole, which has the cell sap and all the nutrients. In question number 27, we know that the process of coordination and control in human beings is controlled by the endocrines and the nervous system. So the correct option would be C, because in order to control the distant parts, hormones are used which are released by the endocrine glands, and the nervous system is controlled by the brain as well as the spinal cord. In question number 28, the correct option would be soma. Nissls granules are part of the soma. In question number 29, a reflex arc is the quickest pathway in which the body responds during a reflex action, because the body does not have so much time to convey all the information to the brain and then respond. So it's sort of a bypass route taken. The incoming information is taken by the receptor, and then it conveys it to the spinal cord, which immediately conveys it to the effector muscles. The correct option is D. In question number 30, the correct option would be D, because we know that the inside of a neuron is mainly negative in potential due to the increase in potassium ions, and thus they cannot leave out the cell. So the due to passive diffusion, sodium ions, however, can enter, and they can help to decrease the negativity in the cell. The full form of STH in question 31 is somatotropin releasing hormone, and oversecretion of it causes gigantism. In question number 32, although the thyroid gland releases TSH, it also has several other functions such as releasing thyroxine and thyrotropin. However, it only has one lobe, so the only incorrect option is C. In question number 33, you should note that the correct option is A, ostia, because in sponges, the water is being intaken into their body by the ostia. Now, in the next question, pinworm is a classical infection mainly in children because of their unhygienic practices in which they tend to put their hands in their mouth after touching the ground. So the scientific name of pinworm is Enterobius vermicularis, and the treatment for it is albendazole stat. Now, in the next question, you should know that the substrates are the reactants on which the enzymes work, and the enzymes helps to decrease the activation energy of the reaction, and thus the products are formed. In the next question, the specificity of the enzymes is mainly due to the special three-dimensional structure, which can be denatured by excessive temperature or pH. So the correct option is D. Now, the you should know that a hollow enzyme is the basically the correct arrangement in which an enzyme works, and if the metal part of the apo enzyme is basically the non-metal part, so they've said that if the apo enzyme is separated from its metal component, its activity will obviously decrease. Now, in an enzyme, there's a cofactor and an apoenzyme, and when they combine, they help to form an hollow enzyme. In pitcher plants, leaves are modified into a sac partly filled with water, so that they can help to trap any organisms which they capture. In question number 39, the pyloric sphincter is the sphincter that helps to regulate the opening from the stomach to the duodenum, and thus the food is periodically released into the duodenum. In the next question, intestinal villi, the main of the main function of intestinal villi is absorption of nutrients. Assimilation of nutrients is how they use the energy, and it is not the job of the villi to do so. In the next question, enterokinase is an enzyme released by the small intestine. Now they've talked about the air passage in a normal human being, so we need to know inspiration in detail. Air basically enters through the nasal cavity or the nasopharynx, after which it travels through the pharynx, then it goes to the trachea, to the larynx, to the bronchi, to the bronchioles, and lastly to the alveoli. They go from the larger unit to the smaller and the least in the functional unit. So the correct option would be B. Now, a pleura, we all know that a pleura is basically a thin layer which is covering the lungs. Each molecule of hemoglobin can carry a maximum of 4 oxygen molecules. Now, transpiration is known as is a necessary evil. Why? Because the disadvantage of it is that the plant loses a lot of water, which is needed for its daily metabolic activities. However, it is necessary to carry out transpiration so that the plant can cool itself. The shape of red blood cells in mammals is biconcave shape so that it can accommodate as much hemoglobin as much as possible. For example, in sickle cell anemia, the red blood cells lose their characteristic shape and thus people develop anemia. Now, the sinoatrial node is located on the top of the right atrium. It is also known as the pacemaker of the heart. Now, the correct option of question 48 is B. Why? You need to understand that passive immunity involves receiving antibodies, whereas in active immunity, memory cells are received. So you can just narrow the option to either B or D. Now, why is it B? Because and why when it's natural means that you get the memory cells after an infection. However, artificial means obviously that you'll be injecting them from an outside source. So the correct option, for example, in two, they said the memory cells are being injected with that bacteria. So the correct option would be B. And the next question, pili are used by bacteria for sexual conjugation and to communicate with each other. However, they are only present in the gram-negative bacteria such as Neisseria gonorrhoeae. Now, we can in this picture you can see that bacteria are in chains, and the only type of bacteria in such pairs and chains, and they are basically diplococci. They are known as streptococci. Now, in question 51, the bacterial components which are used as vectors in genetic engineering are plasmids because with the help of restriction enzymes, we cut the DNA inside them and then transfer them to the other bacteria. Now, the initiating force of evolution, as suggested by Charles Darwin, is natural selection. In question number 53, similarly, another theory of Charles Darwin is said, and which of the following ideas was not part? So it means that which of the following ideas stated over here is incorrect. So what did Charles Darwin say? Charles Darwin said the survival of the fittest. So we simply have to rule out that theory which contradicts the survival of the fittest. And the correct option will be B. Variation between individuals arises by genetic mutations. Because although it is correct, however, it has not been said by Charles Darwin. Now in question 54, the study in which evidence of evolution is obtained from fossils is known as paleontological evidence. In question 25, there are three layers of uterus: the endometrium, the myometrium, the perimetrium. The myometrium being the most muscular layer, the endometrium being the innermost, and the perimetrium being the outermost. And you need to know that basically implantation is the process which occurs inside the uterus. Now, in the next question, you need to know that the first meiosis occurs in the primary spermatocyte. And in the second meiosis, spermatozoa formed. In question number 57, the corpus luteum is the correct option will be a ruptured graphene follicle, because when a graphene follicle is ruptured, the structure which is formed is known as the corpus luteum. And you need to know that the maximum chance of ovulation is at for the 14th day, and then generally the life cycle of a female ovum is about only 24 hours, whereas of a sperm is 72 hours. Now, in question 58, the correct option will be C. Why? Because progesterone is the hormone which is responsible for maintaining the pregnancy. So, in the normal menstrual cycle, the level of progesterone starts decreasing after day 21, and it is responsible for the bleeding which occurs after the menstrual cycle. Now, in question number 59, a sarcomere is basically represented by Z, and it is the distance from one myofibril to another. And in this case of skeletal muscles, it is the main structural function and functional unit. Lastly, in question number 60, the thick filaments in a myofibril are known as myosin, whereas the thin filaments are known as the actin. In question number 61, the incorrect option is periosteum, because periosteum is the outer layer of the bone, not the cartilage. Now, in question number 62, as the name suggests, always refers to inflammation. So, arthritis means inflammation of joints. And for your information, there are two types of arthritis: rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis is basically an autoimmune condition, whereas osteoarthritis develops in older people. Rheumatoid arthritis mainly presents in younger people, and it first involves the smaller joints, whereas the osteoarthritis involves the larger joints, and it is also because of deficiency of vitamin D. Now, if you can see that this is a cross, the option over here, 1:2:1, is a basically the answer to a cross product, and it represents the segregation of alleles by which the final phenotype can be indicated. Now, RRRYY. So this is basically the rarest type of phenotype, and it is present in this least possible frequency in a ratio 1/16. Now you need to know the blood groups in detail. You need to know that the universal donor is blood O group, which means that it can donate a blood to anyone, whereas AB is the universal recipient. So if a person has a blood group A, obviously blood group A can receive, but apart from A, AB can receive it as well. And now hemophilic is always a recessive person. So the correct option will be B. Why? Because X has a H which is small, so it is recessive, whereas the Y hemophilic person is mostly X linked. So in this case, if a person is recessive, he will always inherit the allele and thus develop hemophilia. However, in A, he might not develop hemophilia because he also has a dominant H letter. Now, they say that how can recombinant frequencies be calculated? They can be calculated by crossing a heterozygote to a homozygote double recessive. New combinations of linked genes are due to which of the following: crossing over in which there is random assortment of genes. Now, this wraps up our portion on biology, and this is a sample MDCAT paper in which there are 60 MCQs on biology. Now I will be covering the portion on chemistry in another video. Thank you. I hope you liked the video.